So the purpose of today's practice is to integrate other aspects of fitness into our exercise regimen. So yoga is great, but yoga is a whole process and system by itself. We don't need everything else. However, there's little pieces and parts that yoga is not quite as good at, and I wanted to make sure we're getting those pieces. So for example, we know through yoga we should take care of our mind and our body, and we should be eating the right foods and doing those things, but we probably need a little bit more clarity on what that means and how to actually, what does that look like? But today we're talking about muscle building. So, find a muscle, make a muscle, feel it, and say, yeah, that's a muscle, and that's what muscle tension. So we're a container of muscles. And inside that container are bones, blood, organs, all the stuff that makes us work. But the muscles are what contains us, not really our skin, and the muscles also hold the bones. So the purpose of weight training is to strengthen the muscle and thereby strengthen the connective tissue in the bone. So the way that you do that is you have to put pressure or tension on the muscle for it to work. So where do I want to start? I want to start standing. Standing. So let's come up. I want to come into chair pose. We'll talk as we're sitting into chair pose. Remember, knees stay back behind the toes. Now, if we were to come down to a low chair, I don't know if you can make it down there, then you may have to bring your knees a little bit further forward. That just gives us better ankle flexion. I want you to stay in this chair as I'm talking. All right, so we're squeezing the abs and we're keeping the chest, and I want to maintain this lumbar curve. There's a curve in the lumbar spine. Oftentimes, we rock the tailbone under, and what happens is we lose that curve, we lose the shock absorbency. So rock it a little bit forward and hold it there. By now, your legs are getting tired, so you can come up anytime. I'm gonna hold it here. How much exercise should we be doing? By lifting the heels up. I gotta take my socks off. Lift the heels up and come up onto the tippy toes. We should be doing about every day, 30 to 60 minutes of cardiovascular training. That means getting your heart rate up and your breathing kind of heavy. Let's come all the way up. Stand in Tadasana or just a mountain pose. And again, I want you to maintain a little bit of that lumbar curve. Don't let the hips go too far back, but don't tuck under either. So see that and work on maintaining what is a neutral hip. Let's try that chair pose again. So pushing down, versus pushing the hips back. Strength training, we need a little bit of specific strength training. That's what we're working on today. That's putting pressure on the muscle and then resting it and eating protein, drinking water, and it repairs. So you really shouldn't be doing strength training more than 2-3 times a week. And if you're sitting in chair pose with me, by now you're feeling those quadriceps, I'm sure. Lift the heels up again, see if you can balance. I'm having a hard time here on the beach. The sand is hard to balance and see if you can hold on to that. There are many different philosophies in weight training. Many of them have to do with just splitting up or segmenting the body into different areas. Because you can only do a muscle once every 2 to 3 days, it's hard to not hit them all. Let's come all the way up. Do you feel that?
Yes.
Yes, I know you do. All right, I want you to take your legs wide and in this horse stance. I gotta take my socks off. Excuse me. Take the legs wide. So we can call it horse or goddess pose. Same thing. I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see me. Keep a little bit of an arch. Now bend your knees. Now notice how my spine and my head, the relationship between my hips and my head stay the same. Then, then step side to side. So I just put my hands here. Your hands can go anywhere they want. So this concept that I'm keeping muscular tension is going to make this muscle grow. And that's a good thing because muscles are what adapt and keep us safe and holding up. Are you doing this?
Yes.
By now you're screaming, well, that's enough, Candace, right? Hold wide. Try that same thing where you lift your heels up and hold. Take a couple of breaths in and out. You guys look great. I see you. And then come down and all the way up. All right. Let's turn to one side and step one leg back. So for yoga, you know this as high lunge. But I want to do some movement to keep pressure on the body, on those muscles. So my philosophy in weight training is not really the same as doing like all upper one day, all lower another day. Mine is to do a full body and always integrate the core. Remember that low back. So from here I want to tip up, back up, tip up from high lunge into warrior, bend the knee, come up and back down. Okay, so like the first one you watch, and then you do the rest of them with me. So lunge, warrior 3, bend the knee, come up and back. So now 3 or 4 more on your own. As you continue here, I want you to remember what you're doing is you're contracting a muscle, creating tension. And what that does is create little micro traumas, little tears between the fibers. And so what your body does when you rest, it won't work if you don't rest. Is it repairs those, it like weaves together more filaments and fibers, more protein and enzymes to create a bigger, stronger muscle. If you're doing this with me, your front legs quad is really getting a serious workout here. Am I right?
Yes.
You don't have to answer me. I know you're working hard. All right. So you know the deal, right? You got to turn the other way. Come to that high lunge. Maintain the lumbar curve and a long spine. Tip forward into warrior 3. Bend the knee. Now let's say balance isn't your bag, baby. Then what you might do is come from low lunge. Just lean forward, dip down, and up. So you don't have to add that warrior 3. Now we're going to be working in yoga this week is the hip and leg rotation. So try to keep the legs facing forward the whole time. Give it one more shot. High lunge. Warrior 3. Called a pistol squat. Right? One leg is like a pistol or a piston and back. I fell a little bit there. All right, those legs really have gotten a good workout. Let's leave them alone for a moment. And we'll come down. And we'll come down into hands and knees. I just want to stretch out the back. So this is what we're going to work on in yoga. So I think I'm going to make 2 videos this week. There's going to be this one that's strength training, how much exercise should you be doing? And then a second one for moving the spine. So in strength training, we don't typically move the spine. And there's a good reason for that. You don't want to risk hurting the spine by putting heavier and heavier, progressively heavier tension on the muscle. So from here, I want you to come sort of to your plank push-up position. Now, I want you to figure out what that is for you. Take the arms a little bit wider than you normally do. So, back up to here against the turtle. Take the arms a little bit wider. In yoga, we're right here, chaturanga, all the time. But for a push-up position, you take almost another hand's width out, and then just hold that. I wish I had a camera person to show you all of this. Arms wide. See how my arms and my shoulders and elbows are stacked? I can be on my toes, either way. My spine keeps the same relative straightness. Then bend your elbows. Push up. Try that a few times. Just try bending. You can come all the way down to the sand. That's all right. and then push up from there. Another thing, notice that when I come down, my hands are down here, kind of by my ribs. They're not up here by my shoulders. I see that all the time. See the difference? Hands by my face, down. That's a lot more like the yoga push-up. That's actually an actual push-up. Ah, good work. I'm going to try coming into Dolphin. Again, it's kind of the quintessential strength move. So elbows, forearms on the floor. Try lifting your heels up and then down. So notice my back just rounded there, so I have to really hold that, everything in strength here. So keep going. Your shoulders and your arms are squeezing in, just like we've always done, like in the crow poses. So your arms come down, try it with me. And you can just stay here. You can walk your feet back, and or you can lift your hips up and down. Above all, keep your abs holding your spine in place. Then once you come down, walk your legs back, almost like they're going to be in the water there, and then extend up into like this Sphinx pose. That should feel really good. We just were working that whole corset of the waist. And again, in yoga, we do muscle training. We just don't isolate it like I'm doing here today. So there's different philosophies. My philosophy is always to integrate all of the muscles together. There's over 650 muscles. That's a lot. You could work them, you know, for a year and not get to all of them. Because the muscles don't work like that. They all work all the time. Let's do that again. With time, yeah, we're still having a little bit of time. So we come up to elbows and knees. Push the forearms into the floor. Turn the toes under. Lift the hips up into dolphin and down. Try that a few times. By now you should be feeling, keep going, your biceps and your anterior deltoid, and of course your chest. Dolphin and down. So I'm making these exercises difficult because a lot of you said, I want to learn. I want to get better. I don't want to do the same exercises over and over and not really get much out of it. So don't be discouraged if you feel like a lot of this you're having to quit. That's okay to quit. Then come into that cobra or the Sphinx pose. And notice that you're extending from around the mid-back up. That feels good. All right, we're going to flip over. I want to try bridge pose. Once again, this is going to be a little bit harder than maybe you're used to. Maybe. It depends on how much you work out with me. It just depends. There's some people out there that do a workout with me all the time and say, well, that's not that hard. Now, as you're coming up into bridge pose, I want you to be aware there's several ways to get up there. One is to curl the pelvis under and roll up. That's a very Pilates awareness. So for today, let's just come up and maintain that flat spine. So I don't know how this looks under there, but there's space under me here. That's pretty cool. So try walking one foot towards the center of your body, extending the other leg up. Now we're going to do what's called hip bridges. Drop down, lift up. Drop down, lift up. So you're probably feeling, if your hips are coming up at all, the hamstring and the glute. Remember we worked the front before with those horse and goddess poses and chair poses? Now we're working the hamstring and the glute. And you're feeling that quadricep stretch. So just like in yoga, the muscles always work in pairs. So there's always one. You can hear that, somebody's calling me. It may be one of the participants, but I probably have to keep recording here. Lift and hold. You try making this a little bit harder by waving this top leg around. Just kind of wave to someone, just move that leg in varying positions. You feel your glute responding, and that's what we're going to work on. Again, this week, if you see me, we're going to work on how muscles react to other muscles. All right, so come down. You feel that? I know you do. Take the leg you were just working and pull it in. Get a good, nice little hamstring glute stretch there. Always rubbing the muscle always helps. The fascia will respond to that, and that feels good. I'm going to go to the other leg. I'm going to flip. You don't have to. You're in your house. So here we go. Bridge. Remember, maintain that lumbar curve. Now the other leg comes up. And then down bridge, up bridge, down bridge, up bridge. I just realized I'm doing the same leg. Down bridge, up bridge. So don't flip, because then you'll get confused. Down bridge, up bridge. I love working out with you guys. I think one great thing about working out, especially when you're working out with people, is that it's a lot of fun. And so it becomes like a social event where you're all sort of laughing and working hard together, and it always feels good. So again, that's another important part of my philosophy. I don't really want you working out all alone all the time. Lift and hold, see if you can move this leg around in varying positions, and you're trying to react, and your glute down there is really reacting. I should see these feet waving up in the air. I know this is hard work. I feel it too. So always changing and varying your routine. So if you tuned in just waiting for yoga, let's come down. And then stretch the hip that you just worked. Varying your routine is the most important thing. So if you look out there, there's probably 100 different styles of exercise, different bodybuilding, weightlifting. And so you might have many different versions, many different things that you could try, and they're all very good. Let's come up to see it just for a moment so we can so I want to revisit what we've done so far. We've got a couple more minutes here. We've done strength training by putting pressure on the muscles. So we've done some plank and push-up and bridge pose and the lunges and the horse stance and the chair and the cobra and the dolphin. That's what we did today. And I'll give you that list of what we've done. I want to come up one more time before our final stretch here. So come up. Remember, there's many different ways to come up. I want to work on one more quintessential strength training exercise. So we just worked the hamstrings. We'll do that again. You guys are great following me. I'm so impressed. So knees, heels, hips, all in essentially a straight line, but not a lot. So I say this in yoga that we really want the muscles to be energetically pulling in. Keeping that curve in the low back. I'm actually going to keep my hand here to remind you that. Hinge. As I hinge, notice how my hips go back in space, like I'm pushing them. There's a window back there, pushing them out the window. So watch a couple of times. I'm hinging, and the only hinge is the hips. And my hips are moving back. So look at the relationship between my hip and my knee, the hips going back in space. Yeah, my knees are bending a little bit, but don't focus on that. So think about our yogic forward fold. It's essentially that, but then contract the back of the leg muscles to squeeze in and up, but maintain this curve. Yeah. I love when our pups come to see us. Like, what is happening? What are you doing? And then they're like, okay. They go, okay, I see what you're doing. And then they go off and go do their own thing. So this is called, in weight training vernacular, deadlift. You would reach over, you grab like a barbell or dumbbells or something, some weight, and then come back up. And I almost never do this with weights, because you can see it'd be too easy to load and then pull, and then you'd be straining these paraspinal muscles that go up and down the spine. Come down, hold. You take that stretch, And now this is the granddaddy. Are you ready for the grand finale of all of our exercise? We're gonna go from deadlift, this deadlift exercise, into plank, up to Superman. So maybe just watch, you know, it's a nice day. So we started up here, nice balance, you know, strong legs, came forward, hips go back in space. My hands, I can do this with my knees straight, but if you need to, bend your knees, walk forward and back into plank, come down, then rise up into Superman. Really, I don't know what they called this exercise before, Superman, but that's what we call it here. Come back up. We worked on the Dolphin, we worked on downward dog. Anyway, almost doesn't matter which way you get up, as long as you maintain strength in your spine. So try it with me. So it's deadlift, hands to the floor, however you do this. Walk forward and back into plank, lower down, Superman, come back, push up, step, maybe to that deadlift. As long as you're really holding the abs of the spine, it's okay to come up with that flat back. Here we go, deadlift down, walk out to plank, lower down, Superman, come back, maybe through plank, maybe through downward dog, maybe some other version, or maybe deadlift all the way up. One more time, here we go. Deadlift down, step back to plank, or you can come all the way down onto the forearms. You've got that wrist issue. Lower down, Superman, come back, and then all the way up. Fantastic. Wonderful job. So by now you should feel that we worked the quadriceps. Remember, we put pressure on muscles. And what that does is it changes them. It makes them more neuromuscularly active. So they're holding the joints and the bones in place. It strengthens the connective tissue and holds us in place. So it burns calories, does a lot of things. Come all the way down. This is it. We're not going to come back up after this. So come to an easy pose and practice holding your shins and rocking your pelvis forward and back. Forward and back. So know what it is if you're watching the screen here. What I'm not doing is simply extending my spine and rounding it. I'm just trying to rock my pelvis. Now, I don't know if you have your gluteals strung under your sits bones. If you do, you know what I'm talking about. And when you rock, it's kind of like a cord, you know, kind of flipping to one side, then the other. So you might have that muscle doing that on the bone. That's okay. Muscles can take it. And again, that's the point of muscles. They're highly adaptable, and we want that adaptability. Now rock forward and hold. Take 2 or 3 slow, deep breaths. How much exercise should you be doing? 5 to 7 days of cardio, meaning you got to get up, get out, get your heart running. There's a direct correlation between your heart health, your brain health. And as we age, all of us are worried about the brain health, and they're finding more and more that what's good for your heart, cardiovascular work, you know, oxygen, keeping your body healthy, meaning free of like bacteria and viruses, etc. Because as we age, they find that the barrier to the brain gets more permeable. That means the stuff can get through it. So normally in a healthy young person, the brain is always protected. But as we age, that barrier becomes more permeable. So it's more important to not have like those infections and things like that, and viruses or any kind of disease running through the body, because that will attack you. the brain where earlier in our lives it wouldn't. Just lean to one side. Now, what we didn't really work today were the abs, but we did, right? With plank pose, we did work the abs. I feel so good. If you're not used to doing this kind of strength training, isolated and then integrated motion, this probably seems a little bit intense to you. Go to the other side. So if you're sore, the rest of today, tomorrow, all the way up till a day after tomorrow, that's a good thing. More water, more protein, and more rest is what's going to build that muscle stronger. So that's really good. Flexibility training, I never really like that term, as some of you know. It doesn't mean just stretch. It means to keep the mobility in your body. So that could be a lot of awareness exercises and movements and therapies. It isn't just doing like a stretch. So interlace the hands behind you, extend the upper back. Remember before we were just doing the lower, and then release that and round the upper back. So do a few of those when you twist, or you open up the arms, push the chest forward, and then you round. And because my hands, remember, I'm pulling my shoulders forward. Hold on, I just like the way that looks. So open and close a few times. And then I always add an extra little bit. Of course, body composition matters, right? So we should be watching, our calories in, and how much we're exercising as it relates to the body composition and how much fat we're storing. But I like to add what I call like self-care or stress management, meaning you got to take care of this mind or this spirit, whatever you want to call this being, this consciousness. And how we do that is by being aware of our senses. As we're pulling in the world, how are we reacting? So this is our muscles react to the pressures that we're physically putting on them today. Our mind, body, and you want to call it our spirit, is always reacting to our experiences. All right, so I always like taking one knee up and then adding that to my twist. That way I don't have to work so hard to hold it, and I can feel that twist. Take a deep breath in. And out. And then the other way. Now, like I said, I like to have my knee up like that. It's okay. If you don't make that connection, you can leave that leg down, do it like that. But I tend to grab with my hands, and so I want to just hold without thinking. My hands have a really strong neural connection. I'm always thinking, typing with my hands. Feel energy and how it's shifting. Like I'm breathing kind of heavily here, kind of hard, because well, one thing I'm talking while I'm doing this work, but those were big muscle groups. There's like 10 major muscle groups: the front of the thighs, the back of the thighs, the chest, the back, the abs all around, the biceps and triceps, the top of the shoulders, the lats, which are a back muscle that pull the arm down. Come all the way down. So this is where, if you're doing this a lot, or if you're doing this at home later, you can't see me once you get down, right? Because you're not really looking at your screen anymore. Don't worry about it. Take a look and then go back to your space. Take the knees and hips over to one side. So I said we didn't really work our abs specifically, but what we did do was train the abs to hold the spine. So abs aren't really made to move us dynamically. So all those dance moves, dances throw their leg up over their head and then extend all the way down to the floor and back up. You're not necessarily made to do that, thank goodness. Let's see if I can pet this turtle. I don't want to bother him back there. Maybe he'll just stay there while we finish our workout here. Bring the knees over to the other side.
Oh.
It's very common to work one side more than the other side. And so just like in our body, we compensate. We compensate in life with our relationship between people, for example. Notice there's a push and a pull. When you say something, the other person's receiving it, and then they give something back, and we continue on that like dance. So what I want you to think about this week, and this will be part of our practice, is noticing how what you put out there, how it's received, but then also what are you putting inside? So you may be consuming someone else's opinions, which you are right now, or you may be consuming your own opinion of yourself, of the knees into the chest. And so I want you to imagine that somebody's eavesdropping on your conversations. So a lot of us don't like being recorded. It's being recorded right now. We don't like when somebody, records our voice and then plays it back. But we have that voice going on in our heads all the time. So I want you to eavesdrop on that inner conversation and ask this question. What would you say to a friend who's in the same situation? If you wouldn't say it to a friend, you're always a little bit nicer to your friends, then you shouldn't be saying it to yourself. So I want you to think about that. Let's try our Shavasana. So it's time for the best part. So if you got a beach, you can lay out on the beach. Take a deep breath in. Tuck the shoulder blades down so nothing's poking into the sand. Let the legs sort of flop open. That feels natural and good. Let the feet and the hands relax. I want you to lower your eyelids down. We're going to do this for about 5 minutes. So don't worry, I'm not going to let you burn in the sun. Another deep breath in. Exhale out. Now your goal for this resting pose is to wake up and bring your mind back to it. So your goal is to wake up and bring your mind back to this body. I said that our body is a container, or I said the muscles are a container for the vibrant energy that is the internal organs, the blood, all those other things that give us structure and take care of the business of being alive. Wake up to what you are doing now. You may witness that your mind has thoughts that are disturbing you. What would you say to a friend? If you might put your hand on their shoulder and say, it's going to be okay. Imagine another version of you looking down at you and saying that. Wake up and give attention to being in this body that has now started its recovery process. With your mind, wake up to your breath. Imagine the breath is creating the vibrancy of your internal space. Imagine that your breath is bringing in the sunlight, is bringing in the waves of refreshment. So just like the ocean waves come in and they stir the sand and they stir, the contents of the ocean, and they oxygenate the ocean. That's what the waves do. Let your breath stir. Let it swirl in and pull out, leaving the sand, the beach of your body refreshed. Now purposely breathe into the belly and move the belly up and down. Let it go. This time, move the belly up and down, but move the back body out. You can fill the back body with the energy, with the breath, with that wave of refreshment. Now slowly roll onto your side. Open your eyes, push up off the floor. Sit back down into the sand. Remember that lumbar curve? Keep that there. Bring the hands together. Pause here to pull the shoulders down. I want you to make sure that you recognize tension. The tension may be very, very small. And it's good that we did a really hard workout where we had high intensity in the muscles. But then we have to balance that with a lot of softness, a lot of pulling down. So that energy is pulling back down to the earth, so we're plugging back in. So rest is just as important as the work. Spread the collarbones wide. Inhale and circle up. Exhale, extend up and back. We're stretching through abs. And hold this extension for 3 breaths. Want to soak in and receive. So all we're doing at the end of our practice is taking in the vibrant energy that we've created. One more breath. This should be hard. We didn't really work the low back that much. This is good. Then inhale up. Bring the hands back together. I honor you, and I'm glad for this opportunity to share this time with you. Namaste.